I'm Tathaloka, the UTBSI coordinator for Bhikkhuni history, her story, and heritage. Speaking today about the 1997 Bhikkhuni Ordination on its 25th anniversary on November 22nd, 1997, now to 2002. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. My respect to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. Sanghamitta Day greetings with reverence to our senior Mahateras and Mahateris of the Mahabodhi Society, and among our honored guests and viewers, and my warm greetings with much appreciation to our leading Bhikkhuni coordinators of the United Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha International, and to all our guests and viewers. This talk is dedicated to the memory of our great and fully awakened Arahati Bhikkhuni forebear, Sanghamitta Theri, and her great company of Tamadut Bhikkhunis, to Maha Arahati Anula Tisa Theri, the first 1,000 Bhikkhunis of the island of Lanka to fully awaken, and to all the great Sangha of the awakened lineage of the Buddha throughout time. I'll be speaking about the 1997 Bhikkhuni Ordination in the Ananda Sima at the International Buddhist Meditation Center in Los Angeles today, as we continue our commemoration of the 25-year anniversaries of the Bhikkhuni Ordinations, which led to the resuscitation and revival of the Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha. Last year, at this time, as mentioned, the Mahabodhi Society of India and our newly formed United Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha International celebrated the 25-year anniversary of the 1996 Bhikkhuni Ordination in Sarnath. This coming February, we'll celebrate and commemorate the 1998 International Bhikkhuni Ordination in Bodh Gaya, through both of which the Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha of Sri Lanka and South Asia were revived. The November 1997 ordination here was in between. In this revival, the early 1988 Bhikkhuni ordination in Southern California also stands out, in which 12 women renunciates of Theravada traditions received full dual Bhikkhuni ordination via the old Savakayana, or early Buddhist Dharmaguptaka Vinaya lineage, which is the basis for most all East Asian Bhikkhu and Bhikkhuni ordinations up to this day. Of the 12 Theravada traditions Bhikkhunis ordained, 9 were South Asians from Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Burma, and 3 were Westerners, with 2 from Germany and 1 from USA. The concept of Theravada nuns receiving Bhikkhuni ordination in the existing Dharmaguptaka Bhikkhuni lineages was also the original or initial basis for the Sri Lanka Bhikkhunis' 1996 Sarnath Bhikkhuni ordination, as well as the 1998 International Bhikkhuni ordination in Bodh Gaya. That process was to further develop and evolve in very important ways. Following the 1996 Bhikkhuni ordination in Sarnath, the 10 newly ordained Sri Lankan Bhikkhunis undertook 2 years of studies in Theravada Buddhist Bhikkhuni Vinaya with the Mahabodhi Society of India in Sarnath, instructed by the late Most Venerable Andawela Devasiri Tero. Venerable Walpolapiyananda Tero of Dharma Vijaya in Los Angeles had joined with Venerable Dr. Havanpola Rajanasara Tero in Los Angeles in supporting the 1988 Bhikkhuni ordination. Bhante Piyananda had traveled to India to support the 1996 ordination in Sarnath and returned to Los Angeles with encouraging news about it. Back as early as 1994, after more than 5 years of giving seminary papaja to mostly Asian American Buddhist women teachers, these senior Theravada monks, with Bhante Ratanasara's leadership, were ready to take a further step. IBMC LA, the International Buddhist Meditation Center of Los Angeles, was just across the street from the College of Buddhist Studies that Venerable Dr. Havanpola Rajanasara had founded and where he taught. This partnership between Bhante Rajanasara at the College of Buddhist Studies, IBMC, and the Theravada monks of the LA area was to be very important. When Venerable Bhikkhuni Karunadharma, the first bhikkhuni to be ordained in the US in 1976, wanted to organize ordination for her students in 1994, the plan for the first of the international grand ordinations at IBMC was hatched, with Venerable Dr. Ratanasara's support. As the ordinations were planned, soon there were requests to provide higher ordination for nuns in Tibetan Himalayan traditions as well, and they were included too, as was a Vietnamese American Theravada applicant. This may have been the first occasion of a Theravada nun receiving full ordination as a bhikkhuni at IBMC. We may note that in the aforementioned 1988 ordination 6 years earlier, Tibetan traditions and Theravada traditions nuns had been accepted as well. However, Theravada tradition bhikkhus, while they did give seminary papaja and precepts beforehand to the Theravada candidates for the 1988 ordination, as likewise Tibetan masters did for their Tibetan tradition students, with a concept of root lineage vows. They did not participate together in the ordaining dual Sangha quorums of the Dharmaguptaka Vinaya traditions. This changed in 1994. Theravada bhikkhus of the Polytext Vinaya lineage and Tibetan Himalayan tradition monks of the Mula Sarvastivada lineage, having studied and recognized the very close similarities of their mutual Vinaya traditions, were allowed to participate together in the ordination, taking active participatory roles and sitting in together during the ordination as witnessing masters. We saw last year in the archival video of the 1996 Sarnath Bhikkhuni ordination how this sitting in was so there as well. 10 Sri Lankan and Indian Theravada bhikkhus sat in as witnessing masters on one hand, and 10 Tibetan and Himalayan tradition bhikkhus sat in on the other side, while the ordaining Korean Bhikkhu Sangha and the Korean Bhikkhuni Pavatini and Bhikkhuni instructors sat in the center with the ordinees. The intention of this participation was a multi-traditional show of support and acceptance, to show that the new bhikkhunis were fully accepted as bhikkhunis by monks, bhikkhus, of the sanghas of all three of these great, still living Savakayana early Buddhist lineages, not only the East Asian sanghas, Dharmaguptaka Vinaya, but also the South and Southeast Asian Theravada, Polytext, Mahavihara Vasan Vinaya, and the Tibetan and Himalayan sanghas with Mula Sarvastivada Vinaya. In 1997, after hearing about the 1996 Sarnath ordination, Venerable Bhikkhuni Karunadharma was inspired to organize another grand ordination at IBMC. Venerable Dr. Atanasara was in support, and they began to take applications. However, compared to 1994, in 1997, the number of applications accepted was small. There were no Tibetan traditions teachers or Tibetan traditions candidates involved this time. In 1997, all of the candidates accepted for Bhikkhu and Bhikkhuni ordinations had strong Theravada connections and leanings. They were mostly from Theravada traditions of Sri Lanka and Nepal. There was also one applicant accepted for Bhikkhuni ordination born in the United States, who had been in Europe and in India, and then training with the Korean Bhikkhuni Sangha, with a leading Bhikkhuni teacher and ordination master, aiming to fully ordain. The Sri Lankan candidate had already been a 10-precept nun for more than 10 years, and the Nepali candidate had already been an 8-precept anagarika for several years as well. For the American candidate, it was 4 years since she'd undertaken Nisaya and Papaja with her Korean Bhikkhuni mentor, and 2 years since seminary ordination. All told, it had been nearly 10 years as an anagarika, 10-preceptor, and seminary. Storytelling. While in Korea, shortly after her seminary ordination, the American was sent by her Bhikkhuni mentor to Seoul to study at the Lotus Lantern International Buddhist Center, which was running international Dharma teacher training programs. Lotus Lantern had a strong connection with Amaravati Monastery in England. While there, she had the opportunity to meet teachers of and study the teachings of the Thai forest traditions of Ajahn Chah and Ajahn Mahabua. While she was at Lotus Lantern in Seoul, Kusuma Devendra, the late Bhikkhuni Kusuma, and Ranjani De Silva of Shakyadita, Sri Lanka, came to Korea to study the Korean Dharmaguptaka tradition Vinaya with a Korean Bhikkhuni mentor who had studied in Sri Lanka. They had connections with the Mahabodhi Society of India, MBSI, and a plan was developed with Korean, Sri Lankan, and MBSI support for the 1996 Bhikkhuni ordination in Sarnath. We learned about this last year. Please see our UTBSI YouTube to learn more. In brief, this had emerged out of Korean Bhikkhuni's participation in the Shakyadita Sri Lanka conference in 1993, and the following Shakyadita conference in 1995 in Ladakh, with Shakyadita Sri Lanka President Ranjani De Silva then serving also as president of Shakyadita International. National Korean Bhikkhuni Association presidents pledged support for the Sri Lankan Bhikkhuni revival, together with the Korean Bhikkhuni delegate to the World Buddhist Sangha Council. With her Bhikkhuni mentor, an executive member of the Korean Bhikkhuni Association, the American seminary went to visit the Bhikkhuni temple in Seoul, where the Sri Lankan ladies with Shakyadita were studying Vinaya. The seminary asked her Korean Bhikkhuni mentor if she could join in this Bhikkhuni ordination in Sarnath, but this was deemed not suitable as it was organized for Sri Lankans and because she had already made a training commitment in Korea with her Korean Bhikkhuni mentor. For context, at that time, the 1998 International Bhikkhuni ordination in Bodh Gaya was still far away, and there had not yet been any international Theravada Bhikkhuni ordinations in Sri Lanka. Those began later in 2002 and 2003. So the American seminary planned to keep her training and ordination commitment with her Korean Bhikkhuni mentor. But destiny was to intervene. For not long afterwards, Her application for Buddhist study visa renewal in Korea was denied, and she was sent back to her home country, losing her Bhikkhuni mentor and community. Her plans for Bhikkhuni ordination in Korea dashed. With the Korean Sangha in the US, she found shelter, but there were no opportunities for Bhikkhuni training there. Ayakema and Ayadhamma, ordained in 1988, had returned to Germany. American Bhikkhuni Dhammapali, also ordained in 1988, had disrobed, returned to 10 precept nun's life. Separated from her Bhikkhuni teacher and Bhikkhuni's community, she became a lone, lost seminary, like a refugee in her own home country. What to do? She took refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Encouraged to attend the Western Buddhist Monastic Conference in Northern California, she met other Western Buddhist monastics also struggling to make their way in the U.S., including pioneering bhikkhus of the Ajahn Chah tradition, very encouraging, and siladharas, also with ordination issues. It was at the end of this conference that a very special announcement was made. It was announced that applications were to be opened up to those Buddhist monastic women more than 5 years in robes who aspired to full Bhikkhuni ordination. Could it be possible? Her Korean senior Venerable Bhikkhuni mentor and her abbot gave their letters of recommendation, and the American seminary's application for the ordination training program was accepted. The program was 1 month, the training consisting of 3 weeks of preparatory instruction, practice, and examinations, followed by 1 week of post-ordination training. Theravada Bhikkhu teachers, including Venerable Dr. Havenpola Ratanasara, gave regular teachings, with Venerable Havenpola Shanti giving practice instruction. Bhikkhunis of Vietnamese traditions gave hands-on instruction and examination, with participation from local Korean bhikkhunis as well. Just as the ordination training program was beginning, word came that Ayakema had passed away. She had lived with cancer for 8 years. It was November 2nd, 1997. Ayakema was a Shakyadita founder, and with Venerable Karuna Dhamma had been active in Shakyadita USA. She was a great luminary and exemplar. The ordination training teachings and practice were dedicated to her. Serving as chief organizer, Venerable Karuna Dhamma's second assistant, day by day, the American seminary went with Venerable Karuna Dhamma for in-person visits to the places of all the bhikkhu and bhikkhuni sanghas around LA to introduce the ordination to them and request and invite their participation. They visited LA's Sri Lankan and Thai temples and also the Korean temples. The count of supporting and participating sangha steadily increased. Venerable Dr. Havenpola Ratanasara, Chief Sanghanayaka for Siam Upaliwangsa Mahawatu chapter, would serve as Bhikkhu Upajaya, with Venerable Havenpola Shanti as Kamawachacharya, +2. At Los Angeles Buddhist Vihara, Most Venerable Ahangama Dhammarama, the Chief Sanghanayaka for the Sri Lankan Amarapura Nikaya Dhammarakshita chapter for North America, accepted invitation to join as Vice Upajaya, Anusavanacharya, with another supporting bhikkhu from the LA Buddhist Vihara. +2 was 4. At the Dharmavijaya Buddhist Vihara, the Venerable Bhikkhu Sangha in residence pledged their attendance. +5 = 9. At Wat Thai LA, the senior abbot, Pradhammaraj Anuwat, known as Lungtia, offered his blessings and promised 4 bhikkhus from Wat Thai LA. +4 = 13. 2 more bhikkhus from Thai Forest Monastery and Wat Lao Buddha later also promised to join. Plus 2 equals 15, totaling 15 members of the Venerable Theravada Bhikkhu Sangha of the Sri Lankan Siam Upali Wangsa and Amarapura Nikayas and Thai Siam Upali Wangsa Mahanikaya traditions. 6 leading members of the Korean Bhikkhu Sangha gave their blessings and promised to join as witnessing masters, as well as 2 Korean bhikkhunis. 5 bhikkhunis ordained in the Vietnamese Dharmakuptaka Lamte tradition also gave their blessings and pledged to join, preparing to be the ordaining Bhikkhuni Sangha. However, a lesson to all organizers, then 1 Vietnamese bhikkhuni and 1 Korean bhikkhuni canceled. Only 5 were then confirmed, the bare minimum. Bhante Ratanasara's health was failing. He faithfully kept up teaching the candidates while lying down on a reclining chair, face pale, short of breath. His dedication and care for the Sangha was great, but his diabetes and other age-related health conditions were pressing in. All felt the urgency of anicca in the training. It was uncertain whether he would be able to join the ordination or not. On the day of the ordination, Bhante Ratanasara was up. The line of the processing Sangha into the Ananda Sima Hall was long and radiant. In the hall, the senior leading members of the Theravada Bhikkhu Sangha were seated in front on the viewer's left side, at the right hand of the Buddha, with officiants foremost, and the members of Vietnamese Bhikkhuni Sangha front and right. The 4 bhikkhu, bhikkhuni higher ordination candidates, 1 bhikkhu, and 3 bhikkhunis were front and center. Around 200 assembled members of the Sangha, Buddhist teachers, and attending well-wishers were gathered. When all settled, it was noticed there was 1 empty seat in the front right in the Bhikkhuni Sangha section. The bhikkhunis were counted and came up 1 short. The missing bhikkhuni was called on mobile. Sick with terrible flu, she apologized, asking to give her blessings, chanda, to go ahead without her. Bhante Ratanasara noted to all that the minimum in-person quorum outside the Indian Madhyadesha was 5, even though the missing bhikkhuni gave her chanda in person to another bhikkhuni who quickly went to visit her 2 blocks away. At the same time, more quick calls were made. No other bhikkhunis were available in the area. Once again, it seemed for a moment like everything was going to fall apart. Hopes and dreams, all the effort, training, and preparations. Samsara is so unreliable. Then Bhante Ratanasara began to speak out strongly and clearly to the assembly. This was noteworthy, as his health had recently been terribly poor, and his voice had not been strong. Anujanami bhikkhue, bhikkhunihi, bhikkhuhi, bhikkhunio, upasampade tunti. Bhikkhus, I allow you to ordain bhikkhunis. Bhante Ratanasara then explained to the assembly that these canonical words were originally the Buddha's injunction to the Bhikkhu Sangha, and that bhikkhuni teachers were later called upon to give aspirants examination in sensitive matters. So the so-called dual ordination arose. He noted that the Bhikkhuni Sangha over the past weeks had already given full instruction and exam to the female candidates. Now it was merely a formality to confirm. He asked the assembled bhikkhunis to formally confirm, and said then that the bhikkhuni ordination candidates would also go through the full ordination procedure after that with the Bhikkhu Sangha, together with and just like the Bhikkhu ordination candidate. The 3 Bhikkhuni candidates were asked to learn the correct answers to the polytext exam very quickly, immediately, in one instruction. Bhante Ratanasara then also noted and asked to consider that some of the most eminent and bright of well-educated masters and scholars, both in Sri Lanka and in Burma, had already recommended from years ago this method he was proposing now, being perhaps the best and soundest method to revive the Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha. Only there was also a wish to respect the existent bhikkhunis, and the East Asian Sanghas, in gratitude, wished to return the gift of the lineage they had received from Sri Lanka. Bhante Ratanasara then explained and proposed his understanding that there would be just one Sanghakama by the Bhikkhu Sangha, because while 4 bhikkhus or 4 bhikkhunis together could not be ordained together with one kamma, 3 is the limit. This would be 1 bhikkhu and 3 bhikkhunis, not surpassing the limit, not ordaining a bhikkhu sangha, not ordaining a bhikkhuni sangha. Such was Bhante Ratanasara's deep, vast, and quick Vinaya knowledge. The American seminary felt such admiration arise in her heart. She aspired to learn and gain such ready knowledge herself. 6 of the Theravada bhikkhus present were Mahatheras, and another 6 were Theras. The number allowed to be ordained together in Vinaya was familiar to them. They nodded, considered, discussed briefly, and then agreed. The procedure now agreed upon was further clarified. First, there would be Papaja and Samanera, Samaneri Sikha, again, per the Sri Lankan method. Then, exam with the bhikkhunis for the women candidates. Then, the full procedure of Upasampada for all 4 candidates with the Bhikkhu Sangha. There was consensus. It was agreed. It was announced the Sangha is in harmony. During the Sanghakama and the admonition, it seemed as if the whole hall was thundering and roaring, resounding with good energy, as if deva drums and trumpets were sounding. And so it came to be that, fully ordained on 22 November 1997 of the Common Era, 2540, the Buddhist era, in the Anandasima Hall at International Buddhist Meditation Center were Venerable Bhikkhu Parakande Arya Prabhuti from Sri Lanka, Venerable Bhikkhuni Mahagoda Sumeta from Sri Lanka, Venerable Bhikkhuni Sakyani Tathaloka from USA, Venerable Bhikkhuni Ruja Karuna from Nepal. The name given by my Korean Venerable Bhikkhuni mentor, Sakyani Tathaloka. It's Bhikkhuni Tathaloka. In Korean pronunciation is Sok Yo-gwang. And the Vietnamese Bhikkhunis also use the Vietnamese pronunciation. That was me. The instructing and examining Bhikkhunis, Sans quorum, were Venerable Bhikshuni Myangsang Sinim. She is not present. She is the Venerable Bhikkhuni mentor, the recommending master. Venerable Bhikshuni Dr. Tik Antu Karuna Dhamma, who is the principal organizer. Venerable Bhikshuni Tiknu Ayachanyu, the Bhikkhuni Vinaya trainer and lead Vinaya instructor. Venerable Bhikshuni Geshin Myoko Tikmin Vap Prabhasa Dhamma, the Bhikkhuni examiner. Venerable Bhikshuni Tiknu Dwe No, and Venerable Bhikshuni Sok Ingwang Sanim, who was not present. She joined in the pre-ordination training and examination. She was the one with the flu who then gave her chanda. The ordaining Bhikkhu Sangha were Venerable Havanpola Ratanasara Nayaka Mahatero as Upajjhaya, preceptor. Venerable Rajkiya Pandit Ahangama Tamarama Nayaka Mahatero as vice Upajjhaya, as vice preceptor, and Anusavana Acharya. Venerable Havanpola Shanti Tero as Kamacharya, Kamarajacharya. Venerable Praharaj Tamavitet Mahatero. Venerable Palewela Rahula Mahatero. Venerable Prakru Sitakit Samahito Mahatero. Venerable Walpula Piyananda Mahatero. Venerable Pramahabunle Vajramethi Tero. Venerable Alawala Shubhuti Tero. Venerable Nawala Lakana Tero. Venerable Gopakande Sumana Jyoti Tero. Venerable Pramaha San Sutimedi Tero, plus several more. The witnessing Korean Bhikkhu Sangha were Venerable Sok Do An Sanim, Venerable Sok Mun Su Sanim, Venerable Sok Ji Hwan Sanim, Venerable Sok Mun Su Sanim, Venerable Sok Hyun Chol Sanim, Venerable Sok Ji Sanim. Witnessing Vietnamese tradition bhikkhus were Tik Tam Tue, Tri Ratna Priya Karuna, Venerable Tik Tam Tien, Kusala Ratna Karuna. Because what happened on the day of the ordination was somewhat different than what was planned, the printed programs and the ordination certificates printed at the printer beforehand could not accurately reflect what occurred. So, later corrected certificates were made to serve in lieu of the originals. Example, reissued corrected ordination certificate for November 22, 1997 Bhikkhuni Ordination at International Buddhist Meditation Center, LA. This is my certificate. As far as it's known to the speaker, this was the first contemporary recorded occasion where the Theravada Bhikkhu Sangha used the ancient injunction of the Buddha, recommended by highly knowledgeable great masters of the 20th century, to give Theravada Bhikkhuni ordination by the Theravada Bhikkhu Sangha. A prominent example noted by Venerable Bhikkhu Bodhi was the Mingun Jetwan Sayadaw, the teacher of mindfulness and Vipassana master Mahasi Sayadaw. About photos. Noting, when I returned to Asia after completing my basic post-Upasampada training, I traveled light and left my big album of ordination photos behind at the Hermitage where I'd stayed for 3 years retreat. All that now remains are scans of a few very poor quality photocopies of photocopies, which were included in the photocopy of a visa application. These are shared here as noted, together with similar equivalent representative photos from other years' IBMC ordinations to be able to see and understand more easily. Grand Ordination Commemorative Booklet. Welcome to the Grand Ordination, International Buddhist Meditation Center, Los Angeles, the banner. Sangha procession at IBMC to the Ananda Sima Hall. This is on the day, November 22nd, 1997, 2540 Buddhist era. These are the scans of the photocopies of the photocopies. In the center, we can see Venerable Havenpola Ratanasara Sanghanayaka Tero. And on the left, Venerable Karuna Dhamma. On the right, Venerable Havenpola Shanti. Behind right, the lines of the Theravada Sangha. Grand Ordination Sangha procession to the Ananda Sima Hall. On the right, Venerable Havenpola Ratanasara Nayaka Tero. On the left, Venerable Karuna Dhamma. The center behind Venerable Ahangama Dhammarama Sanghanayaka Tero, followed by the Theravada Bhikkhu Sangha. In the Ananda Sima Hall on November 22nd, 1997, 2540, with the Bhikkhuni instructors, candidates here, receiving instruction in the requisites from Bhikkhuni Vinaya instructor Venerable Bhikshuni Ayatiknu Chanyu here in the center. Venerable Bhikshuni Karuna Dhamma watching here on the left. And the Venerable Bhikkhu Sangha over here observing behind on the left. In the Ananda Sima Hall during a grand ordination, the Bhikkhuni teachers and instructors. On the left, the late Venerable Karuna Dhamma. In the center, Vietnamese Bhikkhuni teacher. On the right, Korean Bhikkhuni Sok In Guang. On the day of the ordination in the Ananda Sima Hall, November 22nd, 1997, here Venerable Havenpola Shanti Bhikkhu is giving instruction in the requisites with assistance from Bhikkhuni instructors. You can see here on the left, they're giving hands-on assistance. Then Venerable Tathaloka in the center behind here. Venerable Mahagoda Sumeta in the center right. And Venerable Ruja Karuna here on the right. Venerable Havenpola Shanti guiding the ordinees' participation in the ceremonies as Kamacharya and Kamavachacharya. This is from a different date. In the Ananda Sima Hall on November 22nd, 1997, with the Bhikkhu Sangha on the left side in this area here, and Venerable Dr. Havenpola Ratanasara Mahatero is left center here, and Venerable Ahangama Dhammarama Mahatero, left side, front left here, and Praharaj Dhammavitet Mahatero. Here, front and center, we see Venerable Bhikkhuni Mahagoda Sumeta from Sri Lanka. And you can see the Bhikkhunis there on the far side behind are observing the Bhikkhu Sangha's instructions and exam. Our Upajjhaya preceptor, Bhante Ratanasara, and our vice Upajjhaya, Bhante Dhammarama, and then other members of the Bhikkhu Sangha around and behind here in this photo. Bhante Ahangama Dhammarama Sanghanayaka Tero is giving the Anusavana. After the grand ordination on a different date, for example, here Bhante Ratanasara is on the right, beaming, all are smiling, and our vice Upajjhaya Bhante Dhammarama is here on the left. In the center is our organizer, Venerable Karuna Dhamma. Behind and all around are Theravada Venerable Bhikkhu Sangha. In commemoration, with gratitude to late most venerable, our late most venerable Bhikkhu Upajjhaya, Dr. Havenpola Ratanasara Nayaka Mahatero, who passed away just a couple of years later, May 26th of the year 2000 at age 80. With gratitude and appreciation in commemoration, our 1997 Bhikkhu Bhikkhuni Upasampada organizer, chief organizer, Venerable Tiknu Antu Karunadhamma, who passed away February 22nd in 2014 at age 73. This is at Venerable Bhikkhuni Karunadhamma's memorial in 2014 at IBMC in LA. I'd like to express my gratitude here to my Vice Upajjhaya, Vice Preceptor, still living, Most Venerable Ahangama Dhammarama Mahatero, now age 97. He's the oldest Theravada monk in North America now. So we're paying our respects to him here. This is me. And then these are two bhikkhunis, the first groups that I served as a bhikkhuni preceptor for. Venerable Adimuti from New Zealand, Venerable Bhikkhuni Suvijana from USA. And here I am, and speaking with Venerable Havanpola Shanti, who served as our Kamawajacharya. Also like to express my gratitude to the late Lungtia of Wat Thai LA, Pra Tamaraj Anuwat, and to Praraj Tamavitet, now Pra Tet Mongkol Vitet, now age 90, and the senior most Thai monk in America, and to all of the monks at Wat Thai LA who joined in for our ordination in 1997. Historical review. Only 3 months later, the 1998 Bodh Gaya Bhikkhuni ordination would be held. During the Dharmakuptaka Vinaya tradition dual ordination, numerous leading international Theravada bhikkhus served as teaching and training instructors and also joined as witnessing masters. Directly afterwards, International Theravada Bhikkhu Sangha used the Talikama method for 31 of the 1996 Sarnath and 1998 Bodh Gaya ordained Sri Lankan bhikkhunis, formally converting them to the Theravada Polytext Communion, a watershed moment. It would be only a few months later in 1998 that the ancient practice of all Theravada dual bhikkhuni ordination would be revived in Sri Lanka, now practiced regularly once again for the past nearly, as of this presentation, 25 years since then. We'll learn more about this with UTBSI during the 25-year anniversary in 2023. I hope this talk has been educational and informative. It's my opinion that the resurrected Theravada Bhikkhuni Sangha is well-founded when we see how the means evolved step by step, leading up to the contemporary traditional method of all Theravada dual ordination. For discussion, if interested and keen-minded individuals have access to clear and proper information to be able to discuss, study, contemplate, and consider, worthy discussions may be had and greater understanding reached. This will be a boon and merit for the regeneration of the Sangha structure envisioned and established by the Buddha to be optimally conducive, all working together fully empowered and enabled with the best supports the Sangha is meant for and able to offer. My gratitude first and last to the Buddha and the Dhamma, to Sanghamitta Theri, Anula Tisa Theri, and all the Arahant Sangha, to all noble Kalyanamitas, and to all benefactors who have supported practicing in this noble way. The end of the 1997 Bhikkhuni Ordination 25th anniversary presentation. Thank you for your patient listening. Chirang titatu buddhasasana. May the Dhamma wheel